Samira slipped and fell while taking a shower. She lay on the shattered glass barely moving. Her friend panicked and quickly dialed 911. She said she was in the kitchen when she suddenly heard a loud crash from the bathroom. She walked over to check and found that Samira had accidentally fallen. She had also shattered the glass door. Now Samira was lying on the broken glass barely moving. It looked like she had been badly beaten. They helped Samira up from the floor. Samira looked at her injured body, but the pain left her speechless. She was getting married tomorrow and her friend began to panic, so Emily asked her to stay outside. Samira was having trouble breathing. Sylvie told her not to panic. She was experiencing respiratory alkalosis. It was scary but not fatal. Sylvie helped her breathe through her panic attack. They helped her get dressed and brought her into the ambulance, suggesting her friend meet them at the hospital. Samira asked what respiratory alkalosis was. Sylvie said it was totally normal, especially under stress, and weddings could definitely be stressful. Samira said, if I am this stressed about getting married, maybe I am making a mistake. Sylvie replied, as long as you feel you have met the right person, just go for it. This man had a heart attack and was about to die, but just as the firefighters were about to break the door to save him. Just a moment ago, Bruce had been looking for something to eat in the kitchen when he was attracted by the sound of a door opening. Only then did he realize that someone was trying to break in. Frightened, he quickly turned off the lights and immediately dialed 911. Dispatcher Grace asked him to provide the address, but at that moment the sound of the front door opening came. Then Bruce's mind was filled with worries about his sleeping wife on the second floor, but right after he stepped on shattered glass on the floor, only then did he notice that the back door had already been opened. The intruders were likely more than one person. The sudden change left Bruce speechless, making him unable to clearly explain his location. Looking at the disconnected call, Grace, worried about exposing Bruce's position, did not dare to call back rashly. Instead, she immediately reported it to her supervisor, trying to reach the mobile operator for tracking. At that moment, another dispatcher received a report. Intruder armed with a knife. Very soon the supervisor found the address. Without wasting time, Grace quickly contacted the nearest officers, but when the cops arrived at the scene, there was no robbery at all. Instead, they found out that Bruce, the woman's husband, had gone missing that afternoon. Only then did they learn that Bruce suffered from early onset dementia. The dispatcher, however, felt something was off until she inquired with her colleague and found another reported robbery address. It was the house where the couple had lived 15 years ago. It turned out that Bruce was the real intruder. Due to his memory confusion, he had broken into someone else's home. The current homeowner had returned with their grandson half an hour earlier. Hearing sounds inside the house, they quickly locked themselves in the bedroom. Tragically, Bruce thought his wife was inside. He couldn't understand why she wouldn't open the door for him. Soon Grace called back and told him everything. Only then did Bruce realize he didn't have a key, which was why he had broken the glass on the back door. Realizing the seriousness of the situation, under Grace's guidance, Bruce slowly walked out of the house, just in time to meet his wife, who had rushed over. It seemed like the situation had come to an end, but unexpectedly the homeowner, overwhelmed by fear, suffered a heart attack, and just as Bruce was being placed into the police car, firefighters arrived at the scene. Yet the moment they broke open the door, the homeowner's grandson fired a shot, striking a firefighter in the left lung. The girl appeared naked from the waist up, late at night driving into the fire station. This truly startled the firefighters, but just as they approached quickly to inquire about the situation, they didn't expect the girl to voluntarily get out of the car. But the next moment she shocked everyone. The girl was completely naked from head to toe, just standing there blankly in front of everyone. This scene was truly baffling, but no matter what was wrong with the girl, late at night in front of dozens of firefighters, the captain couldn't let her stay naked like that. But it was precisely this action that scared everyone present. Fortunately, a female firefighter promptly stepped forward to comfort the girl. Seeing the girl startled awake also made the firefighters wonder, especially when they discovered during the subsequent examination that the girl was not only perfectly fine, but also seemed like she had just woken up from a deep sleep. Sure enough, it was almost exactly what they had guessed. The girl had just sleep driving into the fire station.
Sleepwalking, yes.
And do you always sleep in the nude?
I like to sleep with the window open and feel a breeze.
The woman's explanation left the firefighters speechless, but what happened next even more stunned the firefighters.
My car? Weird. I don't have a car.
This prisoner was preparing to escape. He deliberately threw the leftover apple on the ground. Upon seeing this, the prison guard instructed him to pick it up immediately. However, this was precisely the man's true intention. He wanted to seize the opportunity to pick up the escape tool buried in the soil. On the way back to the cell, he exchanged a glance with a bald man walking towards him. The bald man immediately understood and pulled out a pencil, stabbing it fiercely into the prison guard's abdomen. Upon witnessing this, other prisoners also rushed towards the prison guard. Chaos erupted in the prison. Soon the fire department received an alarm from the warden. He reported that a riot had broken out among the prisoners, and they had taken control of cell blocks A and C, setting multiple fires. Smoke had now spread throughout the entire prison via the ventilation system. Subsequently, firefighters quickly arrived at the prison. Under the escort of the guards, they entered the cells. They first closed the ventilation system and then used professional firefighting equipment to quickly extinguish the flames inside. As they prepared to evacuate, they discovered 2 injured prisoners, one of whom was the man from earlier. They were about to urgently transport both to the hospital when the man suddenly had a seizure. The captain had no choice but to instruct his teammates to take the other prisoner to the hospital, and as a precaution, the warden assigned 2 more guards to escort them. Meanwhile, the captain took the injured man to the prison's medical room. Upon seeing the man covered in blood, the doctor rushed forward to prepare for emergency treatment. However, when he saw the man's face, he was shocked. This was not a prisoner at all, but a fellow prison guard. The firefighters immediately realized the severity of the situation upon hearing this.
But if this one's a guard,
The other one probably is too.
so where are the prisoners?
The man named Edgar woke up and found himself trapped in a box. No matter how hard he knocked on the wooden crate, he received no response. Instead, a large amount of soil began to fall through the cracks. It was then that Edgar realized he might have been buried alive. The sharp pain from his waist suggested that he had been shot. Edgar quickly dialed 911, but the location he provided turned out to be a vast, endless forest. Searching for him manually was like finding a needle in a haystack. To speed up the rescue, firefighters deployed a helicopter, but perhaps Edgar was buried too deep, as the thermal imaging failed to detect his presence. At this moment, his oxygen supply was running low, barely enough for another hour. Overwhelmed by fear, Edgar could only let out painful screams. Just then, the detection equipment seemed to pick up Edgar's voice, indicating that they were not far from him. The captain immediately ordered the helicopter to retreat, commanding everyone to remain silent, while instructing Edgar to keep shouting. Soon they pinpointed Edgar's location. As the ground was excavated, Edgar was finally rescued. Such a shocking incident quickly caught public attention, yet when questioned by the police, Edgar hesitated and stammered, only saying he might have been robbed, but couldn't remember anything else. When the reporter asked about his wife, Edgar refused to answer, claiming he had a headache. Now not only the police, but even the reporter felt there was more to this story. Soon the police discovered that Edgar was facing financial trouble, yet had spent a fortune to buy 3 insurance policies for his wife Lizzie. The beneficiary was Edgar himself. Surprisingly, it was Edgar who ended up in danger, not Lizzie. As the police gathered evidence, they unexpectedly caught the couple along with the hitman named Tom in a motel. It turned out that Tom and Edgar were old friends. To claim Lizzie's insurance payout, Edgar offered Tom $100,000 to kill her, claiming that Lizzie was unfaithful. Due to the pandemic, Tom was drowning in debt, so he accepted the job. However, when he met Lizzie for the first time, he found her beautiful and instantly fell for her. Without hesitation, he spilled Edgar's plan to Lizzie, learning that her husband wanted to kill her for the insurance money. Lizzie was furious. Lizzie decided to turn the tables on Edgar, claiming it was self-defense, while paying Tom through sexual favors. Tom then tricked Edgar into coming out, pretending that the job was done, but all Edgar found was an empty coffin. Then paramedics Mills and Sylvie arrived in an alley where a kid named Chris was wandering around in circles, yelling and scratching his arms. He said there were bugs under his skin. He insisted that he had just smoked weed with his girlfriend Celia, and said that she had wandered into an abandoned building. Mills got to work on Chris while Sylvie headed into the building to look for Celia. Mills tried to call for backup, but the radios were down and not functioning properly because of the cold weather. Sylvie was inside the abandoned building and had no cell phone service either. She found a homeless man inside the building, gave him some hand warmers and told him to go outside and tell her partner Mills where she was. The homeless man went outside and Mills put him in the back of the ambulance with Chris, who had overdosed. Inside the abandoned building, Sylvie found Celia.
Slow, easy, slow.
But Celia fell through the floor. Sylvie caught her by one arm and they dangled her, calling for help. Mills found them, but they couldn't pull the girl back up until they got her unhooked from the bar that was stabbed into her stomach. Crews couldn't get a hold of Sylvie or Mills on the radio, so they all rushed to the abandoned building to help. Kelly used a saw to cut the bar that the girl was impaled on, and then they carried her back to the ambulance.